Ayo, straight from his home in Baltimore, Maryland. It ain't quite live, but it's right on time. It's the Mr. Lewis Weekly Update with your host, Mr. Lewis.
Yo, you're a cute unicorn ducky. Oh, hey, and welcome to week 7 of the Mr. Lewis Weekly Update. I want to remind all of you, we have classes on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and that work is still due by 11:59 on Friday. Now, during this pandemic, it's important to take note of the simple things.
You gotta enjoy the little things.
Like a bath. So with that being said, let's go to the big board.
You'll see everything. You'll see the big board.
That is precisely the idea, General.
Well, thank you for meeting me here at the big board. We have a great show for you today, so let's get right into it. Jelani, cue it up.
Bringing you some good news for a better mood. Here's a little bit of happiness.
Food has been a big topic on this show if you've watched previous episodes. So it's only fitting for our first little bit of happiness to be dealing with food. And babies! Another recurring theme on this show has been animals. What's cuter than an animal hitching a ride on a boat? How about a couple of dogs playing on a slide? All this kind of makes me want to go downstairs and just hang out with my dogs, but I gotta do this, right? Right? Being stuck in our houses can often be lonesome, but it's good neighbors that can help us pull through and come together. Like this neighbor who decided to put on an Elvis Presley concert for his whole neighborhood. This last little bit of happiness goes out to all of our graduating seniors. Your senior year has been a peculiar one, but you still deserve to be recognized and honored. And this one man felt the same way. He decided to go to any house that had a graduation sign with his trumpet and play for them. That does it for this little bit of happiness. Remember, if you come across anything and you want to share it, please send me a message and I will try to get it into this video. And hopefully it brightens up my day because we have a week of cloudy days ahead of us. So send me some stuff. Make me happy, guys.
To keep you abreast of what's relevant, let's get to Poppin Fresh with professionals.
That's right, folks. It's time for Popping Fresh with Professionals. This week I have a very special guest, my buddy Tim, who not only is my wife's oldest friend. She's known the guy since she was 3 years old, but he's also chiming in from Chicago. So far, all of our Popping Freshes have been from Maryland. Pretty much all of them from UMBC, too. Sorry about that. But he's chiming in from Chicago, and he's going to talk about sleep study. Now, sleep study, obviously, deals with sleeping. I don't know about you guys, but I apparently tend to talk in my sleep and say pretty absurd things. I also tend to sometimes think I'm going to the bathroom and I walk into the corner and I wake up and I'm like, where the hell am I? And my wife just, laughs at me. So this should be pretty interesting. Let's go ahead and cue it up. Take it away, Tim.
Hi, Mr. Lewis, and hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Tim McMahon, and I am from Chicago, Illinois, and I am a registered polysomnograph technologist, or better known as a sleep tech. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about how I got started in sleep medicine, what I do as a sleep technologist, and then also how that's been affected by COVID-19. So starting off, I have been working in sleep medicine now for about 7 years. I started my training in a facility in Sacramento, California, which is where I was living and going to school at the time. But this training program taught me all the basics and all the expectations of my job in the field. Then after that training program, I began working on my clinical hours. So clinical hours, it just includes working one-on-one with the patients, but being supervised and shadowed by a registered sleep tech the whole time. So after you complete enough of the required clinical hours, you are then able to sit and take the exam through the Board of Registered Polysomnograph Technologists. So, okay, now that I'm a sleep tech, what does a sleep tech actually do? So sleep techs either work in a designated sleep lab, in a hospital, or they work through a doctor's office like myself. I am currently working for a neurologist. Unfortunately, most sleep techs do work overnights. Kind of comes with the profession. But okay, so what do we do as a sleep tech? So you see a variety of different patients. There's lots of different complaints that people may have that would eventually end up with them having a sleep study. But for most of the patients, most commonly what we see are patients that have fatigue or have excessive snoring. So as a tech, your job is your responsibility, is to set up those patients with the necessary equipment to monitor them throughout the night. So this includes lots and lots of different sensors, but some of the main sensors are an electroencephalograph or an EEG, which are all these little gold electrodes on top of the head. Let us see what stage of sleep they're in. It's monitoring your brainwave activity. You also have an EKG to monitor your heart. We're monitoring muscle and nerve movement, inhalation and exhalation, lots of different things. So you're going to get them all set up. They're going to look like a robot. But then once the patient is hooked up and hopefully sleeping, your job then throughout the night is to monitor the patient. So in sleep medicine, especially being in it for as long as I have seen lots of crazy things. We see lots of sleep talking and sleepwalking, and we'll see just night terrors and people just screaming out in the middle of their sleep. Lots and lots of crazy things. But a majority of the patients that we see have what is called OSA, or obstructive sleep apnea. So OSA is an obstruction in the airway that happens and it causes you to stop breathing throughout the night. So that is the number one thing that we see throughout the night and the number one thing that we check for at the beginning of the night. So we're also throughout the night marking up the stages of sleep that the patients are in and marking any other unusual activity that we see throughout the night. So it's also the responsibility of the tech during the night to intervene if we see very severe obstructive sleep apnea. So if you're seeing severe obstructive sleep apnea, you intervene with a therapy called CPAP, or continuous positive airway pressure. So it's a small little machine that goes on the nightstand, a long hose that's attached to that, and then a small little mask that's attached to the hose that either goes just right at your nose or over your nose and your mouth. So that's going to seal it up and start delivering air pressure to open up your airways and then hopefully get rid of any of those obstructions. So that's a very, very simplified version of what a sleep tech does, really basic functions. There's obviously a lot more to it, but that's kind of a really basic idea of what a sleep tech will do. So personally, I have actually started taking more of a managerial role at my current sleep lab. I do work 1 or 2 nights a week, but a majority of the week, I actually get to work during the day, which is super nice. I will review and make adjustments to studies that were performed the night before. and then report any or create any reports that the doctor may need before we send it out to the final review by the doctor. My job also entails doing really basic maintenance stuff, like doing the ordering, equipment testing and maintenance, just general things to make sure that the lab is up and running and everything's up to standard. So since COVID-19, it has been a huge effect on the sleep medicine community. So since the shutdown, COVID-19 has closed all sleep labs. So any non-emergency related testing has been deemed non-essential. So all of the labs, all of the testing, unfortunately, has been closed. So what have I been doing? So during this time, we have been preparing, our lab specifically has been preparing for a site visit. We are being reaccredited through the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, which is just a board that kind of makes sure everything is up to standard. So through this reaccreditation process, we have to make sure that all of our paperwork, the policies and procedures, emergency protocols, things of that nature are all set and up to date. So I've been working on a lot of that. I have also been working on continued education, which is a requirement for all sleep techs. You have to continue to get these continued education credits. So fortunately, there's been a lot of support from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine and also the American Academy of Sleep Technologists. They're giving a lot of free or discounted courses and classes and things to just help all the sleep techs during this downtime. So it's just a really good time for us to kind of use it to grow and educate ourselves. That way, when things do open back up, we are ready to go. So that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for having me. If you have any questions or want any more in-depth detail about sleep medicine, feel free to reach out to Mr. Lewis. He has all my contact information. So stay healthy, stay safe, and thanks again for having me.
All right. Thanks, Tim. That was amazing. I feel like I kind of understand more now what's going on up here. But, I don't think anybody ever will understand what's going on in my mind.
Here's a minute of mindfulness with the chef.
So with all that being said, let's jump over to Mr. Chef with our minute of mindfulness.
Come on, Mr. Chefanacker. I'm going to pump you up.
What's up? It's Mr. Chefanacker again with this week's Mindful Minute. Today we're going to quickly talk about exercise and how important that is for your mental health. During these times, we're spending a lot of times indoors. We're not going outside. I'm sedentary as anything. I'm sitting here watching Netflix. And I was just like, you know what? Maybe it's time to do a little exercise. And what exercise does is it releases two things into your brain that make you feel happy and make you feel better about your day. Helps 1, reduce stress. 2, reduce anxiety. 3, get active and get your heart beating and put happiness into your brain through those two things, endorphins and serotonin. So, exercise is super important for your mental health and it makes you feel better about yourself. How many times have you actually exercised and hated yourself after you exercised? Nobody, unless you actually hurt yourself. So, some couple things that you can do. Now, I took these, borrowed them from my building's gym. They let me borrow them 8 weeks ago. Super happy. If you want to go on Amazon and grab some stuff, you're going to have to wait about 2 weeks, or you can go outside and find some logs and stuff. You can do push-ups as Mr. Lewis can't do.
Nuh-uh, I got it nope.
You can do sit-ups. You can do squats. So, for me, I'm just going to use 50 pounds. And all you got to do, keep your legs separated.
1, 2, 3. Now they're speeding me up. 4, 5, 6.
Or you can do lunges, which I hate so much. And that's where one foot's forward and one foot's in the back. You can't see it. Or you can just do curls for the girls. Or girls. Guys actually do like some solid arms.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, don't rock your body. This is obviously too much weight because I'm trying to impress you. But you can do anything
that you want. Look online. Look for anything that you need. Increases serotonin, endorphins in your body. Goes to your brain, makes you feel better about yourself. Have a good week. And go Owls. Holla!
Chef, I mean, I feel like they got bigger. I don't know. I mean, I'm still working on that push-up. Well, you know, this is starting to get cold. You can see there's a little bit left in there, but I think it's time for a coffee break.
Coffee break, coffee break. Time for a coffee break.
Nothing like a look back at what used to be, so here's a flashback to this day in history.
This day in history, May 18th, 1999, is brought to you by me, Mr. Lewis. On this day in history, 1999, millions of girls and some guys stormed record stores like Sam Goody's and FYE to purchase Millennium, the third studio album by the Backstreet Boys. One of the best-selling albums of all time. Over 30 million copies sold worldwide.
So let's check out this week's open letter.
I'd love to do the open letter, but you know what we got to do first? The box. And guess what? There's no food in the box this time.
Lay off me, I'm starving.
So what's in the box this week? In the box. Let's not keep Brad Pitt waiting. So what's in the box? Oh, cool. We have 2 items in the box today. We have a Zippo lighter. And we have a pack of matches. Kids, don't play with these at home.
Fire! Fire!
My question for all you lovely people at home is, which one came first? The lighter or the match? Please vote now. I know the button didn't work. It was a joke, guys. Get over it. So which one is older? The lighter or the match? This is going to shock you, but it's actually the lighter. The first lighters came about in the 16th century, and they were really just converted muskets that were used to create a spark to light fuses, candles, and anything else that needed, go figure, fire. But it wasn't until 1823 when a German inventor by the name of Johann Wolfgang Dumenheimer invented the lighter. Now this was 3 years prior to the invention of the match. Now matches for a long time, they were cheaper, you didn't have to refill them, they were disposable, were more popular than the lighter. Early stages of the development of the match, it called for white phosphorus, which is a very potent chemical that can cause serious issues. One of those issues being falsy jaw, where the deterioration of the mandible, the lower bone in your mouth, would literally disintegrate and decay within inside your body. And it smelled horrific and it was extremely painful. Eventually they replaced this and made matches a lot safer. So dear lighter and match, even though you're really only 3 years apart, you're both very important to the survival of the human race. You're also important for my date night with my wife. That way I can light candles. Well, that does it for our show this week. I want to thank Tim McMahon for coming out and Poppin Fresh with us. Mr. Chef for our minute of mindfulness. Don't forget to wash your hands and be like Officer P here. What? We got 2 this week? Wash your hands and be like Mr. Ted here. Stay safe, stay smart, stay stellar. See you guys next week. You're a cute unicorn ducky. Greetings and salutations, and welcome to week 7 of the Mr. Lewis Weekly Update. I don't remember what I was going to say. Sorry.
That's all, kid.